Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine series of one-on-one interviews with CDOs, data leaders, and key influencers. I'm your host, Robert Lutton, Vice President of Sandhill Consultants, coming to you today from Toronto, Canada. On behalf of the CDO Magazine, I have the pleasure of introducing Paul Jones. Paul is the Director of Data Analytics and AI at Baringa over in the UK. Welcome, Paul.
Thank you for having me.
As you're an external facing consultant with Baringa now, if we were to ask you, there still seems to be a lot of organizations that are looking to either redo the data governance program or start the data governance program. It's hard to believe that a lot of organizations still haven't started that yet, but you may be dealing with mid-size, small size, large size. Yep. From your viewpoint, where would you kind of point an organization to start and saying, look, this is the first thing, right? In a lot of organizations, we would recommend starting here. Where would, kind of some free advice, if you will, Paul?
Absolutely. And I'll try and make this useful, because the trouble with this is that it's very easy to be incredibly generic with this kind of thing.
Yes.
And I mean, I would always start with, what are your business problems? Or what is it that you're trying to do as a business? And then look at, okay, what data is needed to support that? What issues are there with the data? Or what things do you want to do with that data? And then start your data governance effort in that space so that you can start driving the kind of outcomes that you want. Now, that doesn't talk about any specific data governance capability, because then, are you governing the quality of the data, or are you governing the architecture of the data, or there's a bunch of different things. Do you need to get the metadata right so that you understand the data? You might need to do all of those things. You might need to get different people in from different parts of the organization and start running forums to get people talking and making decisions on those kinds of things. But it all starts with what you're trying to do, because the most common mistake, and it is a mistake I have made in the past as well, is the textbook thing where we're going to go and find some data owners, and we're going to set up some data governance forums, and we're going to start having data quality meetings. And first of all, you're not necessarily targeted at something that's going to drive something of value.
Right.
And secondly, you might be just trying to do too much too fast. If you're bringing too many people in and they've not really got anything to do, you're actually going to end up putting people off.
Right.
I would say find the thing that you're looking to drive value around, and then use the most appropriate aspects of data governance to drive that value.
I'm going to go off off in a little bit of an extension of that question. In your role at Baringa, do you actually sort of espouse a methodology? You have an internal methodology you bring to clients and said, look, you got to get this right, and especially with the whole point of analytics and data governance and the whole approach. Has Baringa developed an internal methodology you bring to customers to help them start? Can you talk to that in any way?
Yeah, we have. In fact, we have methodologies across each kind of type of engagement, I guess you could say, because of course we've looked at it from the perspective, if we're coming in and helping a client, sure, what are the steps that we go through? What are the templates we need to fill in? So for example, we have a data strategy approach, which is a very structured approach, which starts with identifying the business outcomes and links to the business strategy, identifying the challenges and opportunities, looking at the current state and developing a target state, and then developing a roadmap to execute on that. And we also have a really fairly unique kind of approach to how we develop that roadmap as well, which is kind of an agile approach. It's a bit difficult to describe without pictures. We've got some really good pictures that kind of describe how this
Yep.
kind of works. But the idea is that, again, to that point around where you go first, instead of doing either the big bang, we're going to try and do everything, or just doing we're just going to fix one thing and then we're going to go on to the next thing. We have this approach whereby we pick the value driving use cases, but we also use our reference models in terms of what does good look like? What are the components that we should be building as sustainable foundations? And each time we fix a problem and deliver value, we're also building those foundations so that when we move on to the next thing, we've already got those foundations that we build on, and we can get faster and faster and faster. And also it means that it doesn't slip backwards, because again, something I've seen far too many times, especially with things like data quality, actually, is you get all these people around, you fix a load of data quality issues, everything feels like it's going in the right direction. You stand down the team and it all goes backwards again.
Right.
And so, a really important thing here is, whenever you're delivering one of these things, you do it in such a way that you're building foundations and you actually, those things improve over time and don't slip backwards effectively.
Good. And so for our listeners, Baringa, is Baringa, you're based in the UK, but I assume that you're global in nature?
We are global. That's right. Yeah, we have offices around the world, and we have our capabilities and industries across the world. So I've been working on a couple of projects recently with our US team, for example. So yeah.
Perfect. Now, advanced analytics, which is the other half of the coin, right? Many organizations are looking to apply advanced analytics and AI machine learning to solve long-standing business problems. So this is a kind of two-part question. How is Baringa leveraging this technology internally, if you would know? And we can talk about that. And then the second half of the question that I'll come back to and re-ask, because we may kind of forget about it, is could you provide your insights into how Baringa is helping its clients apply these technologies? So let's start internally, because again, I would assume that you're probably using advanced analytics and AI machine learning internally, but are you aware of programs and?
Yeah. So we absolutely are, and actually, one of the things, I mean, we're big believers in kind of taking our own medicine and practicing what we preach, and whatever other analogy you want to
drinking our own champagne is one that I like.
Drinking our own champagne, that's right. And we fairly regularly run hackathons as well, where our team kind of we bring in kind of open data and we look at our own data and we kind of say what kind of things that we can do. And it's not just the data team as well. We kind of we bring in our digital teams and do various bits and pieces. And I guess I'll just give a couple of examples. Sure. So one is we've used some kind of robotics technology to do some automation in our finance system. So that's an example. One of the ones that's really interesting, and I think it's probably more an experiment than anything else at the moment. And I think hopefully this gives an insight into the kinds of things which we kind of explore, is we've been using machine learning to actually auto-generate proposals. So, right. Obviously we pitch to clients for various things. One of the things we had to go with was taking various proposals and putting it through a machine learning algorithm to see if we could automatically generate things. And actually, I guess with mixed results. I mean, it's a really interesting, it did work. We can generate kind of slide packs and it's kind of in the structure that you kind of expect. And then there are bits that you can use and bits that you can't. But we're doing this both for us to learn, because as a team, we want to keep exploring and experimenting with the latest technologies available so that we can provide that service to clients, but also to see if we can get value out of it ourselves. So there's some really interesting things, and we do a kind of, and then I guess the majority of the other things that we do, we have loads of dashboards and things that we built in right. Power BI and things, but I would say that's not in the advanced analytics kind of machine learning side of things, but it's still us applying our own lessons to ourselves. So yeah. So
without giving away too much secret sauce for the clients you engage with, can you provide any insights into how Baringa is helping its clients apply these technologies? Without mentioning names or being called with the police that might actually the corporate police that might come and say, you shouldn't have said that. You'll have to edit that out afterwards. But
yeah, sure. No, very happy to. And again, I'll just provide a couple of examples, because we've got lots of examples, and they kind of range from kind of quite niche use cases where we come in and we can kind of, so like the robotics thing, for example, we've done quite a lot of automation type things, which are fairly standard, screen scraping, kind of automating that kind of thing. But for example, I think the most advanced things, we've done some really advanced stuff in the energy space again, both with some of the climate models that we've done, some of the market insights that we provide. There's some commodities trading algorithms that we've developed, which have turned out to be significantly and measurably more accurate than some of the more traditional approaches, right. Which we've deployed into production. So our clients are actually using them and getting that value in reality. And then moving into to take another example with another client, again, not giving away too many details about who they are, we've done quite a lot in terms of, for example, use of NLP, where we feed unstructured data through a kind of deep learning algorithm. And then in the case that I'm thinking of, this was for complaints. So large volumes of complaints coming in, lots of unstructured data, and being able to feed it to the right place, auto-generate bits of kind of how to respond, all those kinds of things. So some really, really interesting things. I think probably the key thing again is with each of these things, and it goes back to the strategy point. Why are you trying to do it? What value are you trying to deliver? And using the most appropriate techniques. So we can do the super advanced stuff, but sometimes actually it's not worth that investment. It's better to use really standard approaches, and that's also fine. And what we do is we make sure that whenever we're advising clients, whenever we're helping to deploy these kinds of solutions, we have that in mind. And we're there. Look, we're about helping you do the right thing, not just about doing the best whiz bang thing. But we also obviously enjoy working on those things as well, because they're really interesting. And sometimes because the nature of doing that kind of thing is quite often quite exploratory and experimental. You're kind of feeding things in, seeing how it works, and then adjusting. Sometimes it can lead to really interesting outcomes that you wouldn't expect when you first start. And having that kind of open mindset to explore things and kind of work out how you can get the best for a client, or again internally, is again part of the fun of doing this kind of thing, and can lead to some really good outcomes.
Paul, it's been wonderful chatting to you today. We, on behalf of CDO Magazine, we really appreciate it. We hope that we can get a chance to come back and hear what's going on with yourself and Baringa. It sounds like it's a phenomenal cooperation, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, and thanks again for your time.
You're welcome. And for our listeners, please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. Thank you.